So, welcome Rini.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you for joining us for our first Frontrunner nutrition vlog. And today we're going to be talking about all things girls.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
My name's Rini McGregor. I'm a performance and clinical nutritionist, and I work with a range of athletes, and also my specialist area is eating disorders. So I've worked with a lot of high performance athletes, elite athletes, as well as those that are coming through, and I work for a national eating disorder charity, Anorexia and Bulimia Care.
Brilliant, thank you. So as we see, very well qualified. She's in the know. She's the person we need to speak to. Also a published author as well, aren't you?
Yes, I have 4 books. I've got 4 books.
Yeah.
I've got Training Food, Fast Fuel for Runners, Fast Fuel for Triathlon, and also my latest book, which is Orthorexia, When Healthy Eating Goes Bad.
Yeah, it's all about me. So, anyway, guys, I got you... Some of you guys asked me some questions to pass on to Rini. So, here we go. We've just got a few. We're going to keep it reasonably short, but hopefully we'll answer your questions. So, the first one is, can not eating enough carbs cause my iron levels to drop?
So, iron, obviously, the biggest, best source of iron is meat, red meat. But if you're vegetarian, then you're going to obviously rely on a lot of plant-based sources of iron. And that may well be from things like cereal, bread, beans.
Is that
pulses.
fortified cereal, isn't it?
Yeah. Beans, pulses, dried fruit. So if you are avoiding carbs, you're obviously going to avoid a lot of those foods, and that will make it difficult for you to absorb enough food.
Has that got anything to do as well with, say, if you're celiac, say you're gluten-free,
Yeah.
does that have an impact on your iron levels?
So often one of the first signs actually of being celiac is when you have consistently low iron levels, because what's happening is you can't absorb the iron from the food that you're taking in, because your gut is so inflamed. But once you've rectified that, normally actually a lot of the products, especially the gluten-free products for celiacs, will be fortified with iron. One thing to be aware of, if you are worried about iron, is if you're on the pill, that can actually affect your absorption of iron from the gut. So a lot of people, a lot of runners obviously do go on the pill because it helps them to kind of control their cycle in terms of competition, training, etc. So it's actually something to be very, very aware of. My advice is if you do eat meat, try and have at least 2 portions of red meat a week.
Right, okay.
And that really does help. If you are a vegetarian or you're relying on plant sources of iron, always make sure you've got lots of vitamin C going in at the same time, because that really helps to absorb iron. The other thing to remember is that very high fibre diets will potentially affect the absorption of iron, because they're very high in phytates, which will bind with the same enzymes as you need to absorb iron.
Okay, and I guess if you're vegetarian or vegan, you're going to have a higher fibre diet, maybe?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I'm vegetarian, and I'll be honest, I've never been anemic, ever.
No.
But I'm very, very conscious of my iron intake. Like, I'm always aware that I need to think about it, and so, I do balance my meals very well.
And this is actually a question that I had for later on, but I said we could bring this in now. So, do you supplement your iron, or would you suggest someone does? And what form would that take?
So the general consensus is, and if you look at all the studies, if you have a normal iron level, and that's also a normal ferritin level, then there's no benefit to supplementing.
Okay.
However, if you get a blood test from the GP or whatever source you might use, and your iron levels are low, so hemoglobin shouldn't really be lower than 14 milligrams per litre, and ferritin levels for runners should not be really below 40. So if yours is below those, then I would really recommend you do supplement. And the best source is actually probably a liquid source. And there aren't many on the market, because it's one of those things that's quite difficult to actually create a proper iron supplement. The ones you tend to get through your GP are tablet form, and they're very, very difficult to absorb because of the capsule. Your stomach doesn't absorb them very well, so that's why the liquid form is much better.
Are you talking about like Spartone or Floridix, something like that?
Exactly. Levels could be quite low, so if you've got very low ferritin levels and very low hemoglobin levels, you'll probably need to talk to somebody like myself or your GP about how you dose that up to get enough.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, next question. Are there any nutrition tactics to training through... Now, this Shark Week, I had no idea what this meant.
No.
Do you know what this means?
Shark Week.
That's Ella who's filming, by the way. Shark Week, because I really struggle with energy and fatigue quickly when running to the point where I have to plan races around this. Shark Week is when you have your period, obviously, but I love that. I love that terminology. So yeah, so is there anything nutrition-wise that you can help alleviate the symptoms, or just how you're feeling? Or I know personally the week before I'm due to have my period, I just want to inhale biscuits, carbs, things like that. Is that normal, and what should we be doing?
So, really good question. And actually, there's an absolute reason, Holly, why you crave all that crap before your period, because actually, physiologically, our bodies need more. So, basically, our requirements, if you've got a normal menstrual cycle, what I mean by normal, I mean somebody who isn't on the pill, so it's your own cycle. The changes in estrogen and progesterone mean that you actually use different amounts of carbohydrate and different amounts of fat throughout that cycle. So what we normally find is in the 2 weeks leading into ovulation, actually we're very good at fat burning. So we find we don't need a very high intake of carbs. Like we always need carbs, but you might sort of still smash your sessions even without a very high intake of carbs. Once you've gone beyond ovulation, what happens is your requirements for carbohydrates start to increase, because the change in estrogen and progesterone means progesterone takes over, and that really does mean that you rely on carbohydrate for all your fueling. So if you don't increase it, that's why you start to feel quite rubbish, and it's also why you tend to start craving sugar, chocolate,